IPL Radio, inspiring passionate lives for the community.
Well, welcome to Inspire Passionate Lives Radio, and we have got a special guest here today, Dr Craig Buchanan, who is one of the councillors running for mayor. Welcome, Craig.
Thanks, Mike. Lovely to be here with you.
Yeah, we've got Decka and
Sham
as well. Sorry, Sham. It's the first time we met each other.
That's all right. It's so good. First time I met you.
Yeah, it's like reversed here, because at first it was me, then it was you, then Charm, and now it's back to you, Mike.
Yeah, and the good thing about it as well is the fact that the three of us can gang up on a politician.
Yeah, I was thinking that, kind of spoke out loud.
Yeah.
But no, it's great to have you here, Craig. As you're already aware, we have had a couple of other candidates who have been through the mill. Questions are fairly straightforward, and obviously all we want to really do is to find out why you're doing this. Why are you running for mayor?
Well, Mike, I'm 2 years into a 4-year council term. Came in 2019, frustrated with constantly rising rates bills and a lack of things to show for that as far as I could see. So I thought, well, look, I'm going to put my hand up. I'll see if I can do at least as good a job, if not a better one. And I came in with a set of promises that I made to the local residents. I promised that I would do the very best I could to get a rates freeze in our first year. I promised that I would never vote in favour, of an increase higher than CPI. I promised to do the best I could for Point Perrin for the environment. I promised live streaming for council meetings, and I promised the direct election of the mayor. And about 6 months ago, we knew we were getting towards that mayor's election, and I thought, you know what? I've actually delivered pretty much every promise I made 2 years ago. Bar one, perhaps. I said I wanted to ensure that I brought common sense into every council decision. And that's probably the hardest one of all those promises to deliver. And look, the only way to do it, as I sit here looking at it now, is to have common sense leadership for the city. And so, off the back of my current achievements, I thought, no, I'm going to put my hand up and ask people, look, you trusted me 2 years ago. I've delivered on what I said I'd do. Will you trust me again now to take that forward?
Mm-hmm. Sounds good, yeah.
And have you had any is any traffic as to say whether it's working or not so far?
Look, I've had a reasonable bit of community support. Good few blokes walking up to me in the pub. I like to use the pub test a lot of times as a question. Will something stand the pub test? And I'm never sure if that pub stands for public or actually just stands for pub. But
either or sounds
either
good.
Or is good. Either or is good. And look, I like to think of it as the pub test because look, blokes do wander up to me, and sometimes their wives as well, and say in the pub, look, thank you, for what you've done, or can you explain this to me, or why are we doing this? And so, look, I've tried to make my main, what would you call it? My trademark, if you will, a willingness and an ability to talk to local residents on a regular basis to tell them what's happening. I put out videos twice a month, pretty much since I got in. I do a pre-council meeting video where I will tell you what's coming up. Just a 5-minute run through the agenda. Now, look, you can read the 200-page agenda if you want. I don't think very many people out there in the community do. I know I didn't before I got on council.
I don't think I would either.
No, look, and I don't blame you.
It's about 199 pages too long.
It is roughly that. You're right. And look, if I can put that into a 5-minute video for people that tells them, look, we've got these 5 things coming up. This one, and this one probably not worth looking at. They'll go through. This one, bit of an argument. This one, big stushy coming up on Tuesday night. And then later in the week, I'll put out a second video that says, look, here's what happened. Here's the decisions we came to. Here's who voted which way. Tune in next week, and we'll give you the next.
So where do you keep these? Where are the interviews actually? What's the platform? Is it YouTube or is it?
Look, I have got a YouTube channel. I mostly just share on my Facebook page and out to the wonderful pages that we have around the city. The Warnborough's got its own chat. They've got the Rocky Notice Board. You've got the ratepayers group. So I try to share around those if I can.
No, that's good. That's good. Speaking of which, what you were saying, there are certain contentious issues. I mean, the one about that was in the newspaper about beating the trolls, just as a classic example. I know that we just had the vote that was 6-4 for going ahead, but that's to go ahead for public consultation, right?
It is. I didn't shed a lot of tears on Tuesday night. I kind of guessed that was the way it was going to go beforehand, and I'd said as much on social media. It is only... Look, the proposal is for a new policy which would allow the city to fund defamation cases, particularly in what they call exceptional circumstances, but most of those would be cases where the city was being, say, attacked on social media by people who were suggesting that it wasn't doing its job right. Mm-hmm. And the argument there is, well, we've got to counter that. Mm-hmm. Well, that may be true. The debate at the last meeting was around a model proposal that the government had put up, but we'd amended that model proposal at the city quite a bit. 4 of the councillors were keen to spend more time to talk around that and what it might mean. But you don't have to be a maths teacher to know that 4 out of 10 isn't going to win the vote. But it was only for public consultation. It has now gone out, or it will in the next few days go out. And look, I said in the meeting, I'm very happy for anything to go out for public consultation because it lets the ordinary people of Rockingham actually tell us what they think.
Yeah.
And we ought to be listening to that feedback when we get it.
So when it comes to that, and you have the public opinion, is that used as part of the voting process? I mean, we already had the 6-4, but that was to take it to the public forum. So once it goes to the public forum, if everybody, and I'm just, surmising, said, this is crap, what would happen then?
Theoretically, nothing need happen, but normally what will happen, and certainly if it gets back in September, you've got a wonderful opportunity at the September council meeting because there are 4 of us standing for mayor. So I'd estimate that at least a couple of those people who might have voted differently normally will be very sensitive in September to any suggestion that the general public aren't happy. We saw it most recently, I think, with the memorial plaques around the city. And I'm going back a couple of months here, but the idea of roadside crosses and small plaques for people who've passed away in road accidents and the like, there was a lot of public feedback on that. And I said beforehand, that was actually, it must be more than a few months ago now, because Councillor Matt Whitfield was still with us when we actually put that out for public consultation. And I remember saying to Matt at the time, Matt, I have no problem with this going out because I actually want people to tell us what they think. I'm fairly sure I know what the answer is, but until the people actually come back and send us 30, 40, 50 public submissions that say, this is BS, we need it changed, you're not going to get that level of change. You've already got those 4 council members on board, as we had on Tuesday, but if you want to get 2 of the other 6 on board, you've got to bring pressure to bear, and that pressure is public opinion.
Yeah, of course it is. I think as well with the regards to funding defamation cases, $10,000 first of all is nothing, right? But secondly, put that towards mental health coaching or something that people would need to help them get through that kind of process would be the way forward from a layperson's perspective.
Oh, look, it would. I think the one thing we're all united on council and across the city is that nobody actually wants to see us use this new defamation option. Mm-hmm. It is being forced upon us to a certain extent by the state government because they've brought in this model plan that we've all got to adopt. Basically, we're told you either adopt our plan as is or you amend your own version. So we've got to have one or the other, and we do have a couple of very well qualified lawyers at the city who are now telling us, well, look, the model plan isn't fit for purpose, so we've got to change bits of it. But I think the one overriding point is that none of us would actually want to use it.
Yeah. Well, we would hope that we wouldn't have to use it. That's the common sense aspect, as you were saying before.
Look, true. It's the problem we have, of course, is that we're becoming more and more internet-based. We are actually achieving certainly my goals. We're talking more to people. We're relating to the community, and that involves the community relating back. Now, my view, I said a few weeks ago in council, I don't want anyone else to be offended on my behalf. I'm big enough and bad enough to be offended on my own behalf when it comes to it. So, look, I would hope common sense would reign. Who knows? We've got to see when it comes back to us from the public.
I just hope that when we see the trolls, because they are out there, we've seen them. Anybody who gets has that within it's in their grasp to do something about. They have to do something about it. I mean, there's nothing worse than reading on someone's page that, like to yourself, you're trying to do a good job. Everything else, what you don't want to see is the trolls then attacking you or attacking somebody else, and because to me that's just ridiculous.
Look, it is I guess part of it is you don't respond.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the mayor said much the same the other day. He said, look, I'm not often on social media. He said, I just don't engage with it. I've got to admit, there are days when you think, if I put this video out, should I actually just freeze comment? If all I'm really trying to do is inform, then maybe that's the way. But of course, ideally what you want to do is you want to have a dialogue with the community. You want people to be able to say, hang on, here's an idea. Just an example. I mean, I was talking garbage collection with someone the other day, and this lad actually drives one of our 10 city trucks round about. And he said to me, has anyone actually thought of it using the side of those garbage trucks to advertise? I said, it's an interesting thought. I said, don't know, I'll go and have a look at it. If you don't have that openness for people to give you ideas back, you're cutting out a lot of possibilities. So look, I try to ignore the trolls as best I can and just focus on the positive.
Yeah, that's what we have to do.
You can do.
So you're never going to please everybody anyway, regardless. I mean, you can please the majority, and then there'll always be somebody that just has to have that little dig in.
Oh, that's true in a council meeting, let alone in the broader,
that's
let alone
exactly
in broader
it.
form.
So what have you got planned?
In what sense?
Let's see. We mentioned Point Perrin before. Have you got any major plans for that at all?
Look, I think it's worth saying whoever wins the mayor's election will be one councillor among, at that point, 11. So it's about leading, but I think any of us who tells you that we can plough on and do our own thing is blowing smoke in your ear. I think there is a lot of common ground around Point Perrin. I was very pleased to have sat on the ministerial committee for the last year and a bit that actually gave us the decision that we finally got a couple of weeks ago for the Class A reserve. I mean, we've been fighting for that for 10 years plus now. Yes, I do have some plans around that. I would dearly love, there's a patch of land on the corner of Hymas and Point Perrin, just to the side of the Alfred Hines
another one.
Kids home, which I think if you go back far enough, it used to be an old tennis court.
That's right, yeah.
It's actually currently assigned to the city as potential parking. Who's going to want to park on that corner? I do not know. But 50 years ago, when some bright spark in planning said, what do we do? Oh, let's give that to the city for parking. It would actually make an ideal point for an entry statement for Point Perrin, presumably as well a visitor centre added onto that. I'd be very keen to see the council take a lead in that and actually really roll. Now that we've got that Class A reserve, we really need to make the most of it, and I think a visitor centre at that end would be a fine way for the city to get involved.
Yeah, there's a lot of people do a lot of fishing and that there, so information, like you say, a visitor centre and stuff like that would be really handy. Fishing, camping, that's the stuff that a lot of tourists come through Rockingham. So have you got much plans for increasing the tourism in Rockingham, have you?
Look, it is certainly one of the areas where tourism would benefit.
Definitely.
I think we're lacking that caravan park that we used to have.
Yes.
And strangely enough, almost the same strip of land could be used, even under the Class A, for a caravan park. You don't want to move your caravan park too far into Point Perrin, because you're actually then starting to counter the environmental protection levels that we wanted to bring in all along.
You've actually got a large field behind there as well, which is an open field.
Yeah.
That would be a great site for pitching tents or passing through hikers, which could still access Rockingham too.
There is talk as well of some of the current chalet sites being transitioned over to short-term accommodation.
That's the ones for the Garden Island people. Is it Garden Island? Yeah.
Look, if you ever try to figure out who's got the leases on those,
Yeah.
you're a braver man than I am. I think some of Perth's
I've found out
greatest.
some of them. I know
Look,
them.
the great and the good. There'd be a few QCs and a few SCs and the like with holiday shacks up there at the moment.
Yeah, there's various people own them and everything. People in Garden Island rent them out. People from Mandra own a couple, and some people actually live there, which is cool.
But look, if we can get some short-term accommodation, glamping,
Yes,
whatever it is, or be it caravans coming through, and we can then feed those people through onto the main strip along the foreshore. And if, fingers crossed, the Wanless Street Jetty gets, I shouldn't say off the ground, but into the water, we then have a wonderful strip with the city in the middle.
Yeah.
And you have actual attractions at either end for people to bring them in and to hopefully spend a bit of money and to engender some new jobs here.
Right, I see if you in summer that I see the sports complexes like Porkendy Volleyball, they come down to the beach and they set up little competitions and nets for people to join in, which is brilliant. And I see a raft up there on the summers and that, and a few bouncy castles, and I absolutely love the bouncy castles. They're great. And the little train that goes across there, something like that even further up in between that new potential campsite would be brilliant too.
Yeah, look, you would have to look at linking further along, I think, to make sense of it. But look, the good news is we're at the beginning of this road. We simply need to keep the momentum going now. I think that we've got that confirmation from the state government. I say 10 years, it's been a long battle, but I was certainly I was pleased as punch to be able to get that for us.
So we've got that now, right? The Class A Nature Reserve.
Well, you will have in a few weeks when
Yes.
the minister signs off.
Right.
Yeah.
But what we've also got is the tourism side of it, the Class A Nature Reserve and the protection of. How's that being looked at as to be able to actually dovetail the two?
Most of it, thankfully, will not be the city. From the protection point of view, it'll be the Department of Biodiversity and yada yada yada. It's the longest departmental title of anything I can think of, but the old Department of Environment, basically. So I honestly would see the city's input being around the planning for walkways, how those are linked in, and the major spend would potentially be that visitor centre. Because look, we have to get jobs into the area as well. That's the elephant in the room, I guess, in so much of what we do at council. You look at our neighbours down in Kwinana, they have a wonderful split of their rates. I hate to come to the R word, but it does finally come down to the R word when you get there. And the problem is we haven't got industry. We've got residents. Now, you go to Kwinana, they can afford not to sting their residents more than once every 4 years, because the other 3 years, they just tweak their rates around industry. They've got Henderson.
Yeah, they've got the
What
multiplex.
would we give? What would we give to have the likes of Henderson, the multiplex here in Rocky? And that's what we've got to start looking at. We've got to start looking at boosting tourism to get jobs in, but we've also got to look at that general mix of our rates, so that areas like the new areas they're opening up in Baldivis, which the state government wants to put out as housing, the council, and here's another one we all agree on, I think, in council, is we need light industry. We don't need more houses in Baldivis. Not now, maybe in 20 years' time, but right now we need jobs. We need jobs that are not going to put people on the freeway. We need jobs that are not going to put people on the train running in and out. And heaven help us in December when the train line closes for what's it to be, 2-3 weeks. We need jobs here, and that means we need to rezone some of those new areas.
So have you got any plans to assist people in starting a new business in Rockingham, like opening shops, reducing costs, to put, say, bouncy castles along a section? So you've got that main section along the promenade, I think it is, where everything happens. What about further along? Can somebody put a bouncy castle on the beach or something like that, or is it cheap enough? Or have you looked at reducing rates for things like that?
Look, it probably would be a reduction question more than anything else, but there are also a lot of grants that the city currently offers. So that if a business wants to come to us, or if an individual or an organisation wants to come to us, there are opportunities for us to fund things. One of the best things I've enjoyed on council for the last 2 years has been sitting on the Community Grants Committee, which is where all the sports clubs come in and they say to us, look, we need bats, or we need balls, or we need helmets. And you get some weird recommendations coming up to committees. Well, we can't afford to give them all of that. Just give them the bats. And you go, well, hang on, but they haven't got the balls. Oh, but just give them the bat. No. Let's not do this, kid. Let's actually bring some common sense in here. You know, if we're going to give them a bat, give them a ball as well. You know, let's cut it down the middle rather than a long way. Yeah. So, and that has been one of the nicest aspects of council, has been helping out with those committees and actually seeing the real difference that we can make there. The other one, which we're just coming up on now, is the Australia Day Committee, which I chair. A great chance to recognise local people who've actually put that effort in. So if anyone is looking, particularly young people, we know we nearly always get our older residents recognised fairly early, but it's difficult to get young people to step up, or to have people recommend young people for the Young Australian of the Year award.
Right, yeah.
So please, I believe I'm right in saying, I meant to check this before I came out, but I think the forms are up there now on the city website. If they're not, they'll be up in the next couple of weeks. So if you know a young kid who's, you know, been a real example in the community, you know, get out there, put a recommendation in, and let us do what we can to recognise them.
That sounds good. Is that on the website, you say, is it?
Yeah, it should be on the city's website.
All right, yeah, that's cool. Have you got a question there, Sharon?
Honestly, really don't.
Sorry. I think you were going to ask one of them, weren't you?
Yeah, what's with the Facebook page? Exactly. I don't know. That's all.
How can you get in touch with people like yourself, or what Facebook page, and where could people see your videos?
Well, look, I would hope, because as I said, I've made it a bit of a trademark, that people are reasonably aware of my videos. I put them out on my own Facebook page. Do you know, I couldn't actually tell you the address for that. The one thing you never have to do, guys, come on, when did you last have to look up your own Facebook page address?
Exactly.
You just don't do it, do you?
No.
Yeah.
Look, if you type in Craig Buchanan, City of Rockingham, you'll get it. But I also have a website, which is www.craigbuchanan.net, and all of the videos, certainly the videos for the mayor's election, are all on there.
Oh, that's good. So if people want to have a look, they can.
Well, look, what I'm hoping it'll be, I'm still about 3 videos off finishing it, but I'm hoping it'll be an electronic manifesto, basically.
Yeah.
So the bad news is you get to listen to me for half an hour in very small chunks, but...
Okay.
I think we can switch off if we want.
You can.
Yeah,
You can.
If we want.
But do you include any dad jokes? That's the best ones. That attracts people.
No, I'm trying not to. The teenagers tend to hit me if I do that.
Yeah,
That's
but
all right.
part of what you've said about yourself is that you like dad jokes.
I might have a daggy sense of humour. That's certainly true.
That's weird. I know what you mean.
That's the best way. I mean, you break the ice by having a bit of a joke with people, which is good.
Look, I've always said if you can't have fun at your own expense,
Exactly.
then why are you doing it? You're in the wrong line. I mean, we had a lovely one. What would it be now? You might have seen this in your research. When Naked Gardening Day
Yes.
came up.
I've got that.
I'm actually a landscaper as well, so
Oh, well, I won't say how much landscaping went into that, but my wife was mortified. She said, you can't do that. You certainly can't put it on your Facebook page. I went, look, I said, if people can't have a laugh, and if I can't have a laugh about myself, then there really is no point in doing this. You're looking to find that photo now.
I am, actually. Well, aren't you lucky? I don't know if it was.
All I will say is it was not the largest cactus in the garden.
Yes. But the thing about, as you said, you're showing a human side, which is the other aspect.
Look, that has to be the way. This has to be fun for anyone to do. You know, councillors volunteer their time. Yes, they get paid. I can tell you here and now, I get 35 grand a year on paper as a councillor, and the tax man takes a little bit over half of that. I remember I said to the CEO early on, I said, if you see a stranger sitting in my seat in council, be very nice to him. He's the tax man. He might as well do every second meeting.
So how do you fund the campaigns then? Because obviously you've got to. This is not cheap, right?
Look, that's going to be... Ask me that again out the far side of this campaign, because it'll be interesting to see how not only I fund mine, but how my competitors fund theirs as well. Yeah. I mean, you're looking at 149,000 residents in the city of Rockingham, so you're probably looking, let's call that ballpark 55,000 addresses to be delivered to. I don't know how any of us could afford that off the... We're used to working much smaller constituency levels where you can actually get round the doors. So look, I will do as much as I can. Mm-hmm. I will hope that I'm building on a reputation from the last 2 years, and that'll stand me in good stead. But look, time will tell.
Yeah, good.
You were mentioning earlier about the environmental aspects and all that, and also how you wanted to bring more tourism in. How would you kind of balance that, or what exactly have you got planned for the environmental aspects around Rockingham?
Look, as I said, I'd be really keen to solidify what we've started with Point Perrin, and I think that is a real draw card for the environment. But there's a broader question around heritage that I'd also be really keen for us to follow up.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Well, look, since I've been on council, it struck me hard that we are not necessarily doing as well as some of our neighbouring councils when it comes to grasping the heritage we have on our doorsteps. And I'm thinking particularly about Coburn, and if there are any Coburn councillors listening, I'll ask forgiveness ahead of time, but we don't often liken ourselves to Coburn. We tend to like to think we're a little calmer than their council. But look, what they have done is they've done some wonderful work around their Aboriginal heritage and culture in the area and their history. I have no doubt we've got a lot of the same history and culture stretching down this part of the coastline, but it's never actually been catalogued. And from an academic point of view, that frustrates me. I want to reach to a shelf and pull down a book and go, right, there it is. Someone's already found this. We know where it is. It's 3 yards that way, 2 yards. Yep, there we are. There's that tree or there's that hill. None of that work has actually been done for the city of Rockingham, which... And look, there may be less there than I think there is, but I would dearly love to get some of the experts down here to extend the work that the city of Coburn particularly has done almost up until our border, and just to find out. I mean, look, we've got our first Aboriginal councillor now in Councillor Ray Cotton. I've been very keen to help her with anything she's tried to do so far, but that is one I would love to drive from a leadership position if I was mayor, is actually to look at our Aboriginal culture here. And to figure how that interweaves with the city and with the modern culture that we have now.
Okay, yeah.
Sounds good.
Sounds good there.
Actually, there's one thing with the history of Rockingham, like going back to Point Perrin, I used to love walking around there when I was perfectly capable of walking properly, and I liked seeing the old ruins there. Now, there is some of the old ruins there actually quite hidden, and you can't access them. You got any plans, or maybe has anybody in the council got any plans to make those a bit easier access?
Look, I don't think there are any, but there are no plans I'm aware of at the moment. I was involved quite heavily with the committee that put the gun emplacement up, and so obviously off the back of that, they refurbished the surrounds of the emplacement.
Yeah, that's right.
There are another couple of similar gun emplacements there. I know at least one of them looks very dangerous. I wouldn't actually want to try. It seems to have sunk in on itself quite a bit. Right, But now that we've got Class A, or again in a couple of weeks when the Minister puts pen to paper and signs off on Class A, as she said she will, now that that's there, we have the protection for those buildings. So it will then become a question of going to the Department of Biodiversity and saying, look, this needs renovation. Yes, the city may well come on board with part of that, but it's about getting that status first and foremost, because if up until now those were just sitting on Class C land, nobody really had a plan for them.
Sat there and deteriorated.
Now that we've got the actual underpinnings for that, we can hopefully move forward. And as I say, I've been involved on and off for probably 5 or 6 years with the Point Perrin side of things now. Very involved for the last 12 months, and it's something I'd really like to see through to fruition.
Yeah, it's beautiful down there. Just the new jetty, and that's the new viewpoint there for the past few years. That's brilliant. I love to go out there and just look out into the water, you know.
Yeah, that's very
Any
true.
of you Pokemon?
Nah.
My wife swears by it. Apparently, if you're into this Pokemon trend, and I know it's maybe a couple of years old now, but you go down there, you'll find stuff you won't find anywhere else in the area.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
No, that was on the mobile phone, wasn't it?
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
You couldn't get around King's Park because of them.
Yeah, I remember people doing
I
that.
remember
Yeah.
that, yeah. Gosh.
Yeah. Well, look, Craig, thank you very much for all of that information. How would you like to finish for today? We'll try and get you back in, obviously, before the elections.
And look, happy to pop in anytime I can. Look, all I would say is this is a real opportunity for the city of Rockingham. It's the first time we've had the chance to directly elect a mayor. But I would say don't get too fixated on electing the mayor alone, because probably the worst thing that could happen for any of us as candidates would be to be elected as mayor and then not to see the level of renewal on council that we actually need to make a difference, because the mayor will only be one vote. So we need people to be looking at their candidates right across the council. I had a phone call from a gentleman I've known for a number of years now who said, did I think he should stand? And I said, of course you should. And he said, but you and I don't always agree. And I said, well, look, I said, it's not about us agreeing. I said, I respect the fact that you will come and look at this from a new perspective. You'll bring a fresh set of eyes and you'll bring a bit of common sense to it. You're not going to tell me that it's always been done the same way. Now, unless we get people like him, other similar candidates elected, new, fresh blood onto council, frankly, it's not going to make a lot of difference who you make mayor. You know, we need good leadership, but we also need the councillors to lead. So, yeah. I would say, please look at this election as a holistic experience, and look to elect the entire council that you want to see represent you.
That's right. Yeah.
I think on that, thank you very much for coming in. I do like the idea that you'll be looking at this common sense approach, because common sense and politics tend not to go together. We know that, but if it works, that would be great, wouldn't it?
Look, it would be ideal.
Mm-hmm. So there you go, Dr. Craig Buchanan, independent candidate for mayor. We'll obviously get you back again if that's okay at some point.
Very happy. Did someone say they wanted a song though?
Yes.
Somebody wanted a song somewhere, did they?
Tell us the story behind this.
Well, look,
song.
there's not much of a story to it. Look, I'm a country and western fan, and most of what I give you, I doubt you'd have on the back reels here. But it did dawn on me that the Eagles, and I'm talking the band, not necessarily the footy team, but the Eagles' Last Resort talks a lot about how we have to come to an understanding that this is our last chance with the environment. And I think we look at our coastline around here, we've got nowhere else to go. We've got to make the most of what we've got. And I think the Last Resort says that well.
That sounds good. I think I'll tee that up for you. So cheers again for coming in.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
again
you
for having me.
coming in.
No worries. And here is the song as requested, the Eagles' Last Resort. Enjoy.